There's a war happening right now, right under our feet. Today, we're going to go underground for a really fascinating case study, an investigation into the unseen battles happening inside the walls and beneath the floors of everyday homes.
I mean, we've all been there, haven't we? You hear that drip, 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 or you open that water bill and your heart just sinks a little. But what if the real cause is way more dramatic than just a worn-out washer?
And that right there brings us to our main event, Terrytown, Louisiana. Down there, a simple plumbing problem? It's almost never simple. It's usually a symptom of a much, much bigger fight, a constant battle between a house and its own environment.
So let's peel back the curtain, or in this case, the floorboards, and really look at this hidden battle. We're about to explore what makes this one town's plumbing situation so incredibly challenging. See, every good story needs a villain. And in this story, we've got a whole set of powerful, unseen adversaries. These aren't just your run-of-the-mill clocks. Oh no. These are forces of nature and history, and they seem to be conspiring against the homes of Terrytown. So, homeowners in Terrytown are up against four main opponents. You've got the very ground they live on, the water that's always lurking just below the surface, the thick, humid air all around them, and the ghost of plumbing past, pipes that were installed decades ago. Let's break each one of these down. First up, we've got the soil itself. Terrytown is built on soft, saturated earth that is always on the move. Seriously, think of it like a constant, slow-motion earthquake. Now imagine you've got rigid pipes buried in a concrete slab on top of that. Yeah, that constant pressure is basically a recipe for disaster. Next, there's the threat from below. A high water table means groundwater is relentlessly pushing upwards. So the second a pipe gets even a tiny crack from that shifting soil we just talked about, water forces its way in, totally overwhelming sewer lines, especially when a big storm hits. And hey, it's not just what's in the ground, it's what's in the air. That classic humid Louisiana climate makes pipes sweat with condensation constantly, and all that moisture, it just dramatically speeds up corrosion. The pipes are basically rusting from the outside in. And finally, there's the element of time. So many homes built back in the 60s and 70s used galvanized steel pipes. Well, fast forward 50 years, and those pipes are now corroding from the inside out, choking off water flow and basically just ticking away like a time bomb, waiting to fail. Okay, so now let's look at how these four adversaries actually team up to cause some pretty spectacular failures. This is the anatomy of what really goes wrong. And here you can see the problem laid bare. On one side, you have those old galvanized pipes, slowly but surely clogging up with rust. That's what gives you terrible water pressure and that brownish, discolored water. On the other side, you've got modern copper or PEX pipes. That's a really durable plastic tubing, which are the solutions that prevent these hidden disasters from happening in the first place. So let's watch how this escalates into a full-blown disaster, the dreaded sewer backup. Okay, so it starts with the shifting soil, which creates a tiny crack. Then, tree roots, which are always looking for water, find that little crack and invade. They grow into this thick, dense web, blocking pretty much everything. Then, a heavy rain hits, the line has nowhere to drain, and all that pressure forces everything back the way it came, yeah, right back into the house. So, how can you tell if your home is a victim in this ground war? Well, a slab leak, that's a pipe break under your foundation, actually has some pretty clear warning signs. If you suddenly hear water running when everything's turned off, or you see a crazy spike in your water bill, that could be a huge red flag that you've got a hidden leak. Alright, so the situation might seem pretty bleak, but this is where the counterattack begins. See, fighting these natural forces requires some specialized tools, clever tactics, and a really deep understanding of the local battlefield. You can think of a pro's arsenal as being divided into three key strategies. First, you've got the emergency response. These are the first responders for immediate crises, like burst pipes or gas leaks. Then, you've got the intelligence and special ops. Things like video inspections to see inside the pipes, and targeted weapons like hydrojetting to clear the way. And finally, you have the long-term strategic upgrades, like a whole home repipe, which is kind of the ultimate defensive fortification for your house. And choosing the right weapon really matters. For a simple clog, sure, a basic snake might do the job. But to defeat those tough, invasive tree roots we were just talking about, you need to bring out the heavy artillery. That's where something like hydrojetting comes in. It's basically a super-powered pressure washer for the inside of your pipes. Look, facing a plumbing disaster is stressful enough. You don't need the extra anxiety of not knowing what to expect when you actually call for help. So let's pull back the curtain and see how a professional, totally transparent process is supposed to work.
A really good service call should always follow 3 simple, crystal clear steps. First, you call, and they dispatch a professional. Second, that pro diagnoses the issue, clearly explains your options, and gets your okay on a set price. No surprises later. And finally, they do the work, they clean up after themselves, and they guarantee that work. Simple as that.
And this, right here, really gets to the heart of it all. The goal should always be to educate you, the homeowner, not to confuse or scare you with a bunch of technical jargon. Honest, clear communication is just as important as any wrench or tool.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into Terrytown, it kind of leaves us with a bigger question, doesn't it? The pipes in our homes, they're not just pipes. They're telling a story about the ground beneath us, the air around us, and the history hidden within our walls. So the real question is, are we listening?